good. My little doggy just wanted to be held, so I just had her in my arms.
Oh, so cute.
She's very, very sweet. I am very excited for today. I've got my notebook.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'm like just ready to learn. But before we get started, because this is something I just keep forgetting to mention every time I'm coming on with people, for everyone who's watching live, this is not just a conversation between Erica and I. It is also a conversation between you guys and us. So
Yes.
if you guys have, thoughts, questions, if she says something that really sparks something for you, feel free to put it in the comments. You can also ask us questions in the comments, or you can use the little comment button, and it'll tell us that you have something that you would like to ask. But this is a circular kind of thing. We don't want to just be here preaching at you. We just want you to be involved. So also give her some hearts already, because she's already awesome for coming on. So that's awesome. So before we get into today's topic, which is about manifestation, which a lot of people think when they hear that is like so woo-woo. And I think the way that you approach it is not that way at all. So I can't wait to go and learn all about this and your approach to it. But for those who may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I'm Hollywood's leading success coach, and I help stars in their next level. So I don't just work with actors. I work with writers, directors, singers, editors. I mean, you name it. Any kind of creative in this industry, I'm all about helping you get to that next level. And now, between myself and my clients, we have booked over 60 television shows and films on every major network.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. It is.
It's like gets you up in the morning, which is really fun.
Yes.
That's awesome. Also, just want to throw this out there. You were writing a book.
Yes.
And you just dropped the title of the book this week.
Yes.
So tell them what it's called and how they can you're giving away the first chapter,
The first
right?
chapter is free. You can download it right now. Please, please, please sign up and get the first chapter. The book is called Meant for This: The Mindset and Strategy to Achieve Your Most Impossible Dreams.
Right.
And this book is a labor of love. It is all of the systems that I've been using with my clients, but this is for any artist, any creative, any entrepreneur, anybody who has a dream that they feel like they are meant for.
Yeah.
And if you can go sign up for the wait list, you'll get to download the first chapter for free. You can read it right now. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm in the process of working on getting an agent and getting a publisher, which is so cool. And so the more love I can get, the more people on the wait list I can get, the better chance I have of getting it traditionally published. So please go sign up for that. You can just go to HollywoodSuccessCoach.com. There's a button on the homepage that says the book. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Yes.
Hi, Epilepsy Awareness Uganda. That's cool.
Wow.
People from around the world come and join us. It makes me so, yeah, it just makes me so happy. So cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you, and really your messages and the way that you're able to explain concepts about all the stuff, including what we're going to be talking about today, is just so unique, and it's such a different take. I am so thrilled for you that the book is coming along and that you're giving away the first chapter. I definitely am going to be signing up and,
Yes,
reading it. Very, very exciting.
I just finished chapter 10 today, so I'm almost.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, just to be able to sit down and actually work on something and not get distracted and not let quarantine kind of ruin your life. So good for you. I wore this out, by the way, for you today, because I figured manifestation and creating is kind of the same world. So
yes,
I was
it definitely is. I
awesome.
love it.
Okay, so for those of you guys who are watching live, I, like you, don't really know much about manifestation, or kind of how it works, what it is, what the steps are. I'm going to be kind of learning this right along with you guys. I work with a coach, and I do a lot of mindset stuff, and we do all sorts of things, but we don't really touch on manifestation, or we haven't yet. And so I'm very curious. That's why I wanted to talk about this today, because I'm very curious about what it is and how it all works. So I'll let you take it away, because I'm sure you have notes and stuff that you're writing from.
it's really interesting timing because I don't know if you saw, but Katie Holmes posted a trailer for a new movie that she is in. It's a narrative. It's a narrative feature based off of The Secret.
Okay. All right.
Which, like, I blew my mind. I did not know that was happening. And it's just interesting because I don't know if anyone has saw the movie The Secret or read the book The Secret. There's a lot of controversy around it. And I was reading the comments on Katie Holmes', post, and there's people saying, "Oh my God, The Secret changed my life. That's amazing." And then there's other people saying The Secret is so dangerous and it's garbage and blah blah blah. And I think that's like a good lead into today because like I watched The Secret, and I think I read the book first and watched The Secret many years ago, like 15 years ago maybe. And to me, it's like it's they're just planting the seeds. Like that is not right. And The Secret was actually based off of these teachings by Abraham Hicks. And Abraham Hicks ended up getting cut out of the film because of legal issues. They weren't seeing eye to eye on a contract or something. And so they left out like some really important stuff.
Yeah.
That really, because, these people are like, "Oh, The Secret. So what? You just like close your eyes and say, I want a car, and poof, there's the car,
Right.
And it's just not quite that.
Right. Like that's the part I think that people think is so woo woo, right? Like, cause they're like, this can't possibly work. I don't understand. Like there's no, and so when I was talking to you and texting with you about what we were going to talk about today, and I was like, is there a practical side? You're like, there is. And I was like, that's great. It kind of marries both sides, which I think is going to be fun to hear about. So
yeah. And I can share an example like that happened to me recently, but I think so, like the very basics, like manifestation, when you manifest, like everything is a manifestation. Like this conversation is a manifestation. The cell phone, I manifested the cell phone that it's on. Like basically a manifestation, which is why your hat is so great, is just creation. It's just something that you've created in your life, whether it was intentional or not intentional.
Ooh, that's point number one.
Right?
Everything is manifested, intentional and non-intentional.
And
I'm going to write that down because that's really good.
And I think that's the whole idea behind the idea of manifestation, why people get excited, because it's like, oh, we create everything in our life anyway. How cool would it be to be intentional about it so we can start creating things like specific to what we want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Ooh, that is it. I find in all of the stuff that we ever talk about, like mindset stuff, manifestation, whatever, there is a level of honesty that I think people have to have with themselves and being willing to look at what the reality of their thoughts are.
Yeah, self-awareness.
And like but like that takes a lot of bravery because it's not comfortable. Yeah. Right? So I just want to point that out. Like if you start to do this work and it feels really uncomfortable and you want to stop, don't stop. That's normal. Okay, keep going. Sorry. I'm going to try really hard not to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. I mean, again, it's a conversation. I'd love to hear questions and stuff. I mean, I think for me, it is practical. I mean, for me, it's like, yes, you set an intention. You say, okay, this is what I want to manifest. I mean, you could replace the word create if that's too woo of a word for you, right? It's like, oh, I really would love to create this opportunity for me, or I'd really love to create, this connection in my career, or, anything like that. And just by like stating it, just like you would with setting a goal, again, like it's not that different than setting a goal and saying, I would like to create this in my life. The difference, I think, is that you're just being super intentional with your energy around it, right? So I know one of the things that I said that you were intrigued by when we were texting was how Dr. Wayne Dyer says, we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. Mm-hmm. And this is like a big discrepancy about The Secret, because it feels like, oh, I want to attract a new car, or I want to attract a lot of money. Boom, here it is. No, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So the idea is that you need to be a vibrational match for the thing that you want. And if we can take the woo out of it, I mean, it's like if we can make it even more practical, at the end of the day, you just have to be in a place where you believe that this can happen for you. and that you are going to just live in this space where you believe it's going to happen, and you'll be led to ideas to make it happen.
Right.
So, you know what Abraham Hicks says? It's like, it's not that you manifest something and it takes zero action because you've manifested it. Like, there's still action involved, but the action is inspired.
Okay. Okay.
So,
that makes sense.
I can give you an example of something I recently manifested.
Great.
I'm like,
and then, by the way, while you're telling the story, I want the people who are watching to think about something that you would maybe want to manifest. And then when she's done telling the story, I want you to type in the comments so that we can maybe talk through like what that might look like. Yes. To give like an actual example of somebody who is watching this.
Yes.
And I will also try to think of an example. So,
yes.
Okay.
Amazing. Yes. And like, type your questions, your comments. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So back in December, I had set the intention that I wanted to manifest. I wanted to create an opportunity to connect with a certain actor's production company, because they are doing very positive work, like work based on like positive messages that they're putting out into the world. And that's so much what I want to do. And I feel like I might want to get into producing. You and I have been talking about that.
Talking about it. I've been thinking about that, by the way. I haven't forgotten.
Oh my gosh, good. I know. Yeah. We need to catch up.
Yeah.
So so let me walk you through how this becomes practical with inspired ideas. So I had this idea that I wanted to manifest this certain celebrity's production company, an actor that's like pretty well known. They have this production company. Okay. Because I know they're super positive in Hollywood, and so is my business. I held an event at Warner Brothers. It was really exciting. I did a really cool event. And I felt inspired to share that with the audience. So with everyone who's sitting in the audience, I had a slide with the picture of that celebrity, and I explained how I came to the idea of wanting to manifest it. That evening after the event, one of the attendees emailed me and said, Erica, loved your event. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm friends with that celebrity. I've worked with him before. Do you want me to see if I can introduce you? Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is like, that's the first part. Okay. So the first part is I had this idea, I set this intention, and then I felt inspired to share it. Really, that's it. I mean, you could even look at it from a strategic standpoint of like, tell as many people as you can, and eventually someone will make the connection. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, it's really more about just, I'm going to be in the energy that I know that I can connect to this person's company. And so that was the first thing. Okay. So I didn't necessarily have to do like hard work necessarily. It was just following those inspired ideas. So then I was like, hell yes, please. So he emailed the celebrity, and the celebrity is very, very busy. And so they weren't able to connect until March. So that was in December. And then I think around March, before the pandemic, like right before the pandemic was starting, they had lunch. And he was like, hey, I've got this coach. You should meet her. She's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, listen, I have a lot on my plate right now. Don't really have time to meet another person, but it'd be great if you could introduce her to my co-founder, the person who also runs the company with me. I'm like, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome, right? Okay. So then he puts me in touch with that guy, and I email him, my client emailed him, and it was just bad timing because he had just had a baby, newborn baby. It was not good timing. Then the pandemic starts. So meanwhile, all throughout this, I am not white knuckling it. I am not going, oh my God, this isn't working out. What the hell? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this manifesting? Like, I just let it go and thought, this is fun. This is kind of cool how this is playing out. And because I'm so, I'm surrendering so much, like because I'm just totally letting go and I don't have that desperate energy around it, more things kept happening. So eventually, time passed and it was a good time. And so we reached out, and he told my friend that it was a good time that I could reach out. So I reached out, and he didn't respond yet. About a week later on Facebook, I see a post in my college alumni group from this guy that I don't know saying, hey, the company I work for is doing this really cool thing. You guys should check it out. It was that company. I commented, I'm like, oh my God, I emailed the co-founder a week ago, just waiting to hear back, blah, blah, blah. He's like, that's crazy. He and I hop on a video call. We totally hit it off. He hooks me up with the co-founder. And before I know it, I had a meeting with the co-founder and with him. And now the other guy, not the co-founder, but the college guy, is going to be speaking to my clients next week.
That's awesome.
So in 6 months or so, I manifested the meeting. I set the intention, but then I just kept following the inspired ideas. There's no strategy to say, I went on Facebook reading every post, hoping that someone is going to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just happened to be on Facebook the day that this guy posted it, and I just happened to show up in my feed with the algorithm, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you set the intention, you let it go, and then you receive and just trust. And meanwhile, you're inspired to take all of these other actions, you know, these other ideas. And eventually it'll lead you to what you want to create. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. During that time when you weren't hearing back and stuff, were you also like continuing to work on what, like the stuff that you wanted to talk to them about?
Well, when I didn't even have a very specific thing to talk to them about. Actually, that's a lie. In the very beginning, there was a specific movie I wanted to talk to them about that I was potentially producing, but now it's at MGM. So okay. I might have told you about that story. So by the time the meeting came around, there wasn't really something super specific I wanted to talk to them about. I was just like, hey, we are like-minded creatives in Hollywood with very similar messages, my business, your business. I just thought it would be cool to connect and potentially collaborate in the future, however that may look.
That's awesome. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. One of my first questions, because I feel like you like briefly mentioned it, and I was like, oh, we should talk about that, because I think it's a key part of the manifestation process is raising your vibration, which again, for people who are not used to talking about this kind of thing, might sound like, what?
Yeah.
Woo-woo. And it's not all that, it's like not all that hard to do. So how would somebody go about raising their vibration to talk about vibration, one, and then talk about like how people can go about raising that to what you're going after? Because I think it's really important. And it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, which is very sad for me because I completely agree with it all. So
you're like, I love it, but we need more.
Yeah.
I just wrote about this in my book the other day, so I'm like fully prepared.
Perfect.
I know. I think that there's so much we could talk about. I mean, if you're really wanting to know, like if you're really not into the woo side of it and you need scientific proof, just go read Dr. Joe Dispenza's material. Because it's the science behind all of this, how this works. And he's done thousands and thousands of brain scans. It's pretty fascinating. But
who is that?
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Joe, like J.
J-O-E.
J-O-E. Guys.
Joe.
It's been a week. I'm like, how do you spell Joe?
D-I-S-P-E-N-Z-A.
Z. Okay. Dispenza.
Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he'll go into the science of everything. Okay. I was thinking about this because I wrote it in my book. Think about I wrote this in my book. You know that girl that posts on Instagram and she's like, summer vibes, and she is like, I got the wine glass in the pool with the sun and it's summer vibes. like literally that's like the vibration of summer. Okay, it's just like the energy of summer. Well, just like you can have summer vibes, hashtag summer vibes, you can have like hashtag this production company vibes. Okay, so yes, Jaden, yes, and I have his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is just like, I mean, all of his work is mind-blowing. Okay, so summer vibe, whatever. So your vibration is literally just, think about it as how you feel that day. It's just like your feelings emit a frequency, like a vibration in the space.
Right, and it's like actual brain waves and actual heart waves. Like that's why when you go to the doctor and they have to place electrodes on you because there's fields that you produce, like actual like magnetic fields that the human body waves actually makes, and the waves and the stuff. So that's literally what we're talking about.
Yes, correct. Literal vibrations. And And one example that I gave in my book to kind of like super, not dumb this down, I don't mean it in a degrading way, but just like make it really simple, is like, think about a day where you like wake up and stub your toe on your bed the second you get up. And then it's just like a string of events that just like, oh my gosh, like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, right?
Yeah.
It's like you started your energy in a certain place and you didn't recalibrate it. So of course the whole rest of the day, you're gonna, you know, stub the other toe, or you're gonna spill your coffee, or you're gonna.
One might say that you manifested a bad day.
Yes, correct. 100%. You created it. But like in a very simple way, guys, you know, if you were like, oh, I stubbed my toe, that sucks. Oh my gosh. I'm like thinking about this one day when I was having one of those days where like everything was going wrong, and I got a salad for myself, and I was coming out of my car and the salad went everywhere, and I like crying to my mom like, everything sucks today, and she was like, Erica, that's so funny. like to think of like the salad like fly. She's like, you can laugh at that, you know? And so like that's the point. It's like you can stub your toe and wake up and have a really bad day in the morning or not feel good, and then like what I'll do is like I will immediately like reset my energy. Like I have a morning affirmations track that I created, and I listen to my own track where it's just like, you know, I can't wait to see what miracles I receive today. Today's going to be an amazing day. I'm really excited for the day. Oh my gosh, it's so sunny and beautiful. Wow, I lived in such an amazing place in LA. Like just shifting our energy, you know, and you'll have a different day, right? So it's really as simple as that, you know, the energy that you are putting out. And so to raise your vibration, it's as simple as that. As simple as going, I'm going to have a good day today. You know, like there's so many different ways to change your state. And I think like, you know, for me, I love affirmations, and like, I'm just like, you know what? I'm a great coach. I'm an awesome Hollywood success coach. This agent is going to love my book. I know that I'm an expert. I know that I have something to offer. I'm really excited, and hit send. Now I'm sending the email to the submitting to the agent in the energy, in a different higher vibration of just feeling good and confident.
I feel like another good practical example of that is sort of like, remember when we were little kids, and some people as adults still feel this way, where they get to a holiday like their birthday or Christmas, and they're so excited for that day.
Anticipation.
Right, the anticipation, and like they just know that it's going to be a fantastic day. That is an example of like you raising your vibration, right? It sounds like what you're saying is that thoughts become your vibration.
Yeah, thoughts are going to affect your feeling, like how you feel, and then your feelings create the vibration. 100%.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be as like complicated, you know. And what you're talking about, Abraham Hicks literally calls it excited anticipation. She talks about like, because in the process of manifesting, people get impatient. They're like, where the fuck is this thing? Why isn't it here yet? And she says like, it's kind of like if you were on a road trip and you were going to like vacation somewhere, and you know, like, you know, you're going to get there eventually, and you just have that excited anticipation for when you get there, instead of just wondering, where is it? Why isn't it here yet?
Cool. Okay, so I asked the people who are watching live to think about something that they would want to manifest. If you have that answer, it could be anything from like, I want to manifest a series regular role, because we have a lot of actors on here. Yeah. Or I want to manifest, you know, a new apartment or whatever. I'll tell you what mine is. And I know that it's not like anytime soon, but I would like to manifest a house. I want to buy a house. That's what I want to manifest.
Do you know who you're talking to?
I know. That's exactly how you feel. So when we're talking about, I feel like maybe when you're starting your manifestation journey, it sounds like maybe the first thing you could do would be to start small. Oh, and Brent, my broker Brent, he's one of my friends, and he was a former client, and he's awesome, and he is a killer realtor. So when we are ready, we find him, because he's awesome. Shout out to like.
I actually have a realtor already, but
perfect, yeah.
Only because I've been to 150 open houses, but yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, Vianney, is that how you say it? Gonzalez. We'll come back to that. That's awesome.
Love it.
But would something that somebody could do if they're new to it, like me, to start kind of like smaller? right?
Yeah.
So kind of think of smaller things that are a little more easy to manifest than like buying $1 billion house, you know? So that you're, especially if you're coming at it and it feels a little woo-woo to you, so that you're kind of creating proof that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like something people could do, or you're like,
Yeah,
skip
no,
that step, just go for the big shit?
No, I love it all so much. And like, there's so many things to say, because Abraham Hicks, literally, she has this famous line, or they have the same famous line where they say, it's just as easy to manifest a castle as it is a button. And
it does not, that statement does not feel true, right?
You know,
it does not feel true, but I know it probably is true.
So here's the thing. The reason it doesn't feel true is the reason that it won't happen.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? So the reason it doesn't feel true, like you have disbelief. You have disbelief that it's as easy to manifest a huge house, right? And look, I want a big house too. This is what I've been working on. And so it's harder for our mind to get behind that, because we have so much more resistance around it because of what we've been taught, how we've grown up, all the information around us, blah, blah, blah. So we have a lot more, resistance around that thing. But in actuality, when it comes to the law of attraction, they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
Calling one into your world, there really is no difference. But when you're starting out, like, one thing that can help, because it's all about how much resistance you have to believing that you can get this thing. And so
pause. Say that again.
Okay, let me think. What did I say? Like, how much resistance you have to believing that you can get the thing that you're trying to manifest.
Okay, so I want to just pause you for a moment, because I think that is such an important concept. And that, I think, is probably one of the first hurdles to sort of work through in your journey to manifesting stuff for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't honestly believe that you are capable, worthy, whatever you want to call it, of attaining the things that you want in life, it's never going to happen for you.
100%.
That's why I hate when people call themselves aspiring actors.
Oh, I don't deal with that shit.
You are not aspiring.
Come out. Like, I have a chapter on that in my book. Like,
you are not aspiring. You already are.
Right.
If you're working on your craft,
attract what you are, not what you want.
Right.
So if you believe that you're an aspiring actress and that's what you're putting out, you attract what you are. You will continue to attract experiences that reflect that back to you.
Yeah. So the language that you use in your thoughts and what you're saying out loud really makes a difference, right? Like, I know you have a big problem with, like, the concept of the starving artist, or the broke actor, or like, what is that thing?
Just wrote a chapter on that in my book.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's go back, because we did have somebody very bravely put out something she wants to manifest, which is booking a voice acting gig with Disney. That is a good goal.
Love it.
That's a fun ass goal. When I think of, like, if that was my goal, and thinking about, like, being in the booth and, like, getting to work on it and getting to have the fun with doing the script a lot of different ways, like, that sounds like so much fun. So what would be your advice to her if this is what she wants and she's trying to manifest in her life? Like, what kind of advice would you give her?
Well, it's funny what you just said, because what you just described is one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's methods. So, yeah. And so, I mean, we don't even have to go that far. We'll start simple, but just as a side note, like, he talks about, because he's coming from a scientific standpoint, he talks about meditating, and in the meditation, visualizing what that's like. So you would visualize literally standing in the booth at Disney. Maybe you would visualize driving up to the lot. Maybe you're at the Disney lot and you see the little Mickeys on the gates, and you drive in and you give them your ID, and you, like, literally visualize the entire day, and you play the whole thing out in your mind in the visualization. Because Dr. Joe Dispenza says, from a scientific standpoint, that when you are able to visualize this in a meditation and get to a place where you are no longer aware of your current body, time, or environment, meaning you're so deep in your meditation that you're no longer, like, itching your face or, whatever, and that you have no idea how much time has passed. Maybe it was 2 minutes, maybe it was 10 minutes. I don't even know. And you're not even thinking about the room that you're sitting in. So you get to that place in your visualization where you're no longer connected to your current body, time, or environment. Meaning now you're connected to those things in the visualization. You're seeing your body, right? what he says is that the brain does not know the difference between that being a visualized experience and that being a real experience.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is then when you come out of it, your brain follows what you created. So like, I know it's hard to explain, but even from a scientific standpoint, he always gives the example, like when you wake up in the morning, you have a thought, like I have to pee. And your body follows that thought to the bathroom. So it's like a thought and then your body follows and shows you where to go. It's the same thing. It's like if you visualize being in the booth and having this experience and playing the whole thing out, then your brain, your body's eventually going to follow steps to get there because it thinks that it's real.
Right. Okay. So in that example of you get up and you have to pee, I feel like actually what you feel it first and then your brain goes, oh, I feel something, I have to pee. And then you go and do it.
Yeah.
So that feels like that's kind of part of it, right? Like feeling it in your body and thinking about it. Those are the two things that kind of go hand in hand.
And we're talking about more complex things. Like we can go back to the simple, but in this meditation, he talks about how like you really want to involve all of your senses. And like he tells this great story about how his daughter was like trying to manifest a trip to Italy in certain terms. And, you know, it didn't quite happen the first opportunity. And he was like, don't get out of that meditation until you feel that it has happened. And then she ended up manifesting it. So he really talks about, yes, like you're literally like visualizing it as if it was like a virtual reality kind of experience. And then he also talks about like after you've done that, you literally are changing the quantum field and creating new possibilities in the quantum field that connect you to that.
Ha! That's really cool. That's so cool. Because what it tells me, like if he's gone into that much research, it's like, for lack of a better word, proof. It's like proof. It's like actual, like physical proof that all this is possible. I feel like also what I'm learning here is that as you go through this process, and this is something that I've learned about setting goals for myself, is that it's often sometimes not about the goal, but like who I have to become in order to reach that goal.
Exactly.
And that is what this is about. Like as you're manifesting and thinking and meditating and all this stuff, you come out of that, and then suddenly you start, the actions that you start taking are through the lens of something that has already happened,
ding, ding, ding,
even if it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that those things, it's kind of like time and how we only perceive it as linear, but it's actually not.
Yep.
And like all of this, so it's kind of like you're getting to sort of know what the future is before it actually happens.
Yeah.
And the actions that you're taking actually get you to that particular future.
Yeah.
So woo, you guys, but not at the same time. It's so cool.
Like, to me, it's fascinating. I mean, they've done studies. Like they did a study where they had a guy practice the piano for like an hour every day or something, and they did brain scans while he's practicing the piano. And then they did another study where he practiced piano for the same amount of time but didn't touch a piano and just did it in his mind. Mm-hmm, and the same part of the brain lit up for both scenarios. The brain doesn't know the difference. But yeah, 100%. And so like, you don't even, I mean, like, I think like Joe would say, Dr. Joe would say, like, to do that. But I think that even at the basis, you don't necessarily have to meditate and like for me, I feel like I'm a visual learner anyway. Like I can get there even without the meditation. Like I can just see it for myself and I can embody it for myself already. So I think, you know, going back to this Disney voiceover goal, it's like you set the intention, okay? And this is like really not that different than setting a goal. The only thing that's really different from it being like an intention and a goal is that you're not going to try to control the whole process.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to write that down.
Okay.
Because I am such a goal-oriented person.
Me too.
This is different. Okay, so you said the difference
between setting an intention and setting a goal is that you will, like with a goal, you're more heavily controlling the process. Whereas when you're manifesting, you're letting go. So it's like when I talked about that story of me manifesting that meeting, I wasn't like frantically trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to make this happen and like obsessing over it and trying to like think it. I just allowed things to happen and took the little inspired actions that I felt inspired to, right? So it's like you set the intention for this Disney voiceover goal, you raise your vibration, you know, you get into the energy of just believing that this is yours and that you've already have it, and then see where you feel inspired to go. You'll still do the tangible things, you'll still take the action, but like you could feel inspired to, I don't know, connect with an old friend and then find out that their uncle now works for Disney Animation or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I would say like synchronicities are the things that help us know that our manifestation is cooking. Like it's in the kitchen, your meal is cooking, and you know it's on its way when you start experiencing synchronicities and you know, those kind of coincidences that are like too crazy to be a coincidence.
I love what you just said, by the way. For some people who the phrase raising your vibration might feel a little bit the better, you said, get in the energy.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. So like if it feels better to you, like embody the energy, or like, you know, kind of, if you don't quite know how to do that, again, it's like harken back to when did you feel really excited in anticipation to something and how that felt in your body. That's what we're talking about. Cool. We have some other people who have bravely shared. We have Saffron, who said playing a superhero in a feature film.
I've had so many clients with that goal.
Because it's awesome and it's dope and it's awesome. So let's kind of go through that one. And then Brent also said he wants to work with Alan Ball on his own screenplay or series as a showrunner and an actor. Ooh, that is such a great goal too. Like all these manifestation goals. I think I'll probably combine those two things. Manifestation goals. They're all really good and so specific. Is specificity really important?
So here's the thing. There's kind of like two schools of thought on this. I mean, obviously I manifested something specific. It was like a specific production company that I wanted to work with. The idea, like a lot of thought leaders will explain this, but Mike Dooley is a big person that explains the letting go part also includes letting go of the specifics.
Okay. Like for example, I want to buy a house, but the specific house, I don't have to know. I just need to know that it's in general, I want a house.
You can know the specific house, but the how, like
I see.
The how does not have to be specific. And so
so the goal is specific, but the how you get there you don't have to know all the steps.
No, and the goal, okay, so this is what Mike Dooley says, but again, it's like, it's kind of a toss-up. There's like a fine line because you can manifest specific things. Obviously I did, but I think I also manifested the specific thing because I had no attachment to, like I was able to let go. So what Mike Dooley says is that when you are setting an intention or setting a goal, it's not about the specific Alan Ball, Disney, this production company. It's all it is about the feeling you think you're going to have when you get it. So you focus. So it's like, because like, why do you want the Disney voiceover? Why do you want to work this with Alan Ball? Like, because the reason why we want any of our goals, why do you even want the house? It always comes down to, I think it's going to make me feel a certain way. You know, our goals are created by how we think we're going to feel when we get them. And so what Mike Dooley says is like, when you get in, like you can use specifics if it helps you get into the feeling of it.
Okay.
Right? So like if the Disney and the Alan Ball, like you get really excited about those specifics, then use it because you want to be in the energy of that excitement. But what's more important than the Alan and the Disney is the feeling of it, right? So for example, let's say and he says to let go too, because he says that the universe knows better like what is in our highest good than we do. So let's say, for example, and I'm not saying this is true, I'm just making shit up. Let's say, for example, with this Disney goal, that some shit's going down behind the scenes and the Disney animation department is falling apart. And a lot of let's say they're having diversity problems and they're not treating people fairly. And you don't know this. This is happening inside and you're just from the outside going, oh, Disney, right? But if you can let go of your manifestation or let go of the specifics and just say, I want it to feel as if I was working on the Disney lot. Like I want it to feel like that. And then you end up booking
DreamWorks.
Yes, DreamWorks. I was going to say like Pixar,
Yeah.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Like DreamWorks or Pixar, and you end up getting into the booth for DreamWorks or Pixar, and it is like beyond what you thought. Like it's just so fun. You love the people, the project, it catapults your career, like, so we always say like this or something better, because the universe usually knows something, better than us. So sometimes when we get too attached to the specifics, we're attaching ourselves to an experience that we actually don't know the details of what it would really be like.
That makes so much sense. And for highly goal-oriented people such as myself, that can be a little difficult.
Yeah.
I think, right? Like, I think that's a process that if you're used to being detailed and you like lists and you like, having a plan, not having a solid plan can be a little bit of work.
I think you do both. Like, I think you still have the solid plan and you still implement the strategy. I mean, like,
but it's just being more flexible with that plan.
Yes.
Or
yes,
allowing for the possibility that
yes,
it could be more
that's
flexible.
what it is. It's allowing for the magic. And I think that it becomes easier when you recognize that it's not really changing anything. You're still going after what you want. It's not like, oh, I can't say I want Disney now. Well, no, of course you can. But Pixar might be like a better experience and you don't even realize it. You want to at least open up yourself up to that possibility. Because the minute you talk specifics, you are now closing every other door around you. And you're saying, I must go through this door. Oh, what about all these doors that are available for you? Nope, I don't want them. And you're closing yourself off.
Right. So, okay. So I want to kind of dig into this a little bit because I feel like there's two other goals on the table that people have mentioned. One is the action hero in a movie or film. Sorry, this is the same thing. In a film or TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Brent, who's talking about wanting to work specifically with Alan Ball and be a showrunner. I feel like this idea of letting go of the specifics is easier with Brent's thing about wanting to be a writer and a showrunner, because that can take many, many forms and there's so many things in so many different ways. The other one, though, feels like what's the non-specific version of...
Well, I think the specific version of that would be like, it has to be Marvel.
Okay.
Like, what if DC hires you?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and basically what I'd have my clients do is like write the specific goal at the top of a piece of paper and then make a list of all the reasons why you want it, and then keep the list of the reasons why you want it and delete the top thing.
Oh, that's a good exercise.
Right? And so like you're still getting, it's like, okay, I want the superhero thing because I think it'd be really fun to star in a movie. I think it'd be really cool to be physical with my body and do some like really cool stunt kind of stuff. I think it would be really cool to be a part of something that has an incredibly strong fan base, right? So you start listing these things, and we're not telling you can't get those things. We're telling you, well, what if it's not Marvel and you still get every single thing on your list, but it's called DC?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is really exciting. Everybody's like commenting. I know when we play this back in the podcast and on YouTube and all that, they're not going to see these awesome comments where people, it's like having, light bulb moments, which is cool. I am as well, which is awesome. So that's one really cool exercise. Are there other exercises that people could do? So one is like the meditation, right? And really like imagining all the details of everything. I would include like, what are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? If it's that thing, doing the, like being really that. So meditation, one. That exercise you just mentioned, which is write the goal at the top of the page, write why you want it, and then erase the goal. That's really cool. I'm going to totally do that. And I'm going to text you a picture of it.
Yes.
Are there any other kind of like manifestation sort of exercises or ways, things people could do to kind of get started in this process?
Totally. I mean, Abraham Hicks says it's literally just 3 steps. It's ask and like let go and receive.
Okay.
And it's like, that's literally all it is. I still like, it doesn't mean, hey, throw out all of the foundational strategic stuff that you should be doing out the window. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like, stop your cold emailing, stop marketing yourself, just wait for it all to come in. Like, you still do all of those things. But you set the intention, which is like, you're asking for what it is that you want. And then you're just letting go, and you're not holding on real tight, being like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then you just receive whatever it is. Now, of course, part of the letting go process And part of, you know, part of that step 2 is about embodying the energy of the, and it's like, even if you take the woo out of it, it's basically the same as saying you have to believe that you can get this and live in a space where you believe your success is inevitable with this goal. And then you will be led to, oh yeah, I should email that person, or I should do this step, or I should market myself in the, you know, you're led to, but if you don't believe or you don't feel worthy of it, you will never be led to those ideas.
So part of, okay, so setting the goal feels pretty easy. We know how to do that. Letting go, a little less easy, but I think we can get that. The receiving part, that is what I just wrote down, receiving, but you have to also be tuned to what you are receiving. Does that make sense? I feel like somebody could want to manifest something and they start to get what they want, or like the steps to getting what they want, and things are starting to happen, but they're not paying attention to it. So they don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
Have you had people experience that before?
I mean, to me, that's why, like, you know, like I called part of this inspired strategy. I have a whole chapter on this. And like, I say to like, look out, like you're looking out for things. Okay. And so there's 4 things that you look out for in inspired strategy, which is essentially manifesting, you know, and the first thing are obstacles. So very often obstacles actually lead us to where we need to go, right? Okay, so for example, when I was trying to reach out to this guy and he wasn't answering, it felt like an obstacle. But then the universe gave me a better way in because it was a college alumni. So we had so much in common. So we like immediately hit it off, you know what I mean? And it was like an easier transition to connect to them. I was no longer a stranger. And so the universe found a better way. So the obstacle made me pivot to this person. You know what I mean? So obstacles are often ways to pivot, leading you to where you need to go. Obstacles is number 1. Number 2, I say, are inspired ideas, meaning the kind of ideas you get in the shower or while you're exercising, you know?
Because your subconscious knows what it's doing, people. It really does.
It really does. Like your inner being always knows. And so like, these are things to start paying attention to. Number 3, we've talked about synchronicities. Like for me, you know, like I had some crazy synchronicities along that. Like when I was looking up this celebrity, I was looking up a different celebrity at first. And I was like, oh, maybe I should look up this second celebrity. I feel like he would be a good fit too. So I open up Instagram, I go to his page, and he only has one Insta story up, and it's him with the other celebrity I had just been looking at.
What?
You know, and it's just like, what the fuck? That's so weird. It's too, yeah. And so that makes me go, pay attention. To me, it's the universe going, pay attention. You're on the right track. Keep going. And so you want
So starting to kind of like look at the signs where, I know this for some people who are not religious or anything like that, this might sound like religious speak, but I don't mean it this way necessarily, that things are divinely orchestrated.
Yeah.
And you are a part of that orchestration. And you have to, again, pay attention. What's the 4th one?
Totally. The 4th one, okay, so this might be personal to me, but emotional responses. So when you like connect to something emotionally, it's like in your body, you feel it. Like for example, like I had this idea that I was like, oh my gosh, when I said that I was like, I think I want to make a show from this book, at first I was like, no, a show, like, no, that's not me, you know. The entire next day I cried. I like spent the whole day crying the next day. I had such an emotional reaction that I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to pay attention to this. Like, why am I having such a connection? Like, you know, why is this happening? And it doesn't even have to be that dramatic, but, you know, like I think when you're in tune, you know, with your inner being, your intuition, and, you know, you see something and you have even if it's a jealousy connection, because jealousy can also be a sign to lead you, oh, I want that, right? So to me, it's like any kind of emotional kind of connection.
That's really interesting. Okay, so just to recap for people. So once you start the manifestation process and you're in process, here are the 4 things to look out for to be attuned for receiving, which is 1, obstacles, 2, inspired ideas, 3, synchronicities, and 4, your emotional response to something that's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Somebody says, I always say I may not know what it looks like, but I know what it should feel like. If it feels like home when it meets me, then that's it.
That's a perfect example of the emotional thing too. Exactly. Who said that? What is their name?
Her name is Saffron.
Saffron, yes.
She's awesome.
Yeah, 100% Saffron.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have about 6 or 7 minutes left. I feel like I could wrap it here, but I don't want to, because I just want to give people who are listening now, but also probably going to listen to this on IGTV, like, you know, later. If somebody is coming to this completely fresh, they have never done any of this work, whatever. I know we've kind of gone over kind of like some general things they can do, but I think one of the things that we talked about, which I think would be really powerful, is the meditation and imagining what it will be like.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have trouble with that. And I'm wondering what your advice would be to somebody who wants to start doing that, but like has trouble sitting down and really imagining things for themselves. You know, I think my advice would be to start small and maybe like try to visualize something in your house, or a fruit, or something so inane, but that you're like creating it in your head to sort of start to teach yourself that, one, you are capable of doing it, and two, what does it feel like when you're doing it, and then you move on to the bigger things. Does that sound like a dumb advice, or do you like
No,
that?
it's actually really funny. I feel like Joe Dispenza talks about in his book that he first has people like visualize an apple.
Yeah. Like what kind of apple, and what does it look like, and how heavy is it in the whole thing?
Yeah, totally.
You know?
But like I would take it back even a step further, like backwards. So if you're really new to this and you're like, I can't meditate, Erica, I can't visualize, that's too hard. Just talk about it. Sit here and tell me why you want this thing. Just talk about, like, do you know how lit up I get when I talk about the house that I want to buy? Like, I mean, it's been years now and I'm like really obsessed, but like I could go on and on. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have white marble countertops. It has to be white marble. I love indoor outdoor flow. Like I could go on about it, and just talking about it gets me in the energy of the thing.
Okay.
So if you can talk about it, it's not
you
that
can visualize it.
Well, it's the same thing. You're just verbally visualizing it versus, you know, visualizing it in your mind.
Yeah. Oh man, I took 3 pages of notes.
Oh, I love it. I love doing this with you.
I love it too, but I was really excited to talk about this because I just knew so little about the actual process of it. And I feel like I have a much firmer grasp on what it actually is. And it makes me want to go read a bunch of stuff and like actually start practicing it. I'm definitely going to do that exercise that you talked about with the, you know, the goal and then why you want it and all that. I would mention that one of the things I think people misunderstand about like achieving things is that they know how they want to feel, but they think everything will also be really different. And it's not. It's going to be the same, like 50-50, right? Like you'll just have, so my problems now are very different than when I'm actually ready to buy a house, because then suddenly I'm going to have to worry, you know, or like be challenged with, well, you know, how do we go about finding a realtor? I have my realtor, it's Brent. But you know, like the things, and then once you buy the house, or it's like if you have a business, the things you're like, the problems that you have to deal with are going to be just a whole different set. It's not that you're not going to have any problems, right? So I just want to be clear with that, so that people don't, it's not misrepresented and we think that once we get manifested our goals, like suddenly everything's rosy and perfect. That's not the case.
And think about it this way, like another exercise you can do to raise your vibration and get in the energy, make 2 lists. On the left side is what your circumstances now, and the right side is what you want. And write how you think you're going to feel and how you feel now, and you'll see the feelings are very different. But let's say, oh, when I have this house, I will feel
proud
and
yeah.
Okay, let's just say proud. When I have this house, I will feel proud. Proud is an emotion that you can experience right now.
Yeah.
You don't need the house, right? So people think it's going to give you something that you can't access now, but you 100% can access those feelings now.
Hilarious that you bring this up, because I absolutely wrote a list recently. I don't remember what the purpose of the list was, but I remember looking at that and going, wow, I could have like a lot of this is actually really accomplishable right now. I don't have to like have $1 million in the bank to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Why did I think I did? And then that leads you down the, what are my limiting beliefs? And that's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
That I think we're going to have you back, and we're going to talk about limiting beliefs and how
if you take anything away from this too, I think like just keep remembering you attract what you are, not what you want. Because if you're
really think about that, really think about that.
Everything you don't have, like, oh, I don't have that Disney thing yet. If you're going to keep attracting what you don't have, like you're going to keep having experiences that reflect that back to you.
Right.
You don't want to live in the energy of lack.
So good. Okay. So a lot of people who are watching now probably weren't at the very, very beginning where you got to talk about your new book. Can you talk about that again and tell people how they can go and access the first chapter of it? Because if you liked this chat with her, she's available to you. You can work with her. So tell people how they can connect with you, what your book is called, and how they can get that first chapter.
In 4 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Come find me on Instagram, Hollywood Success Coach. The website's hollywoodsuccesscoach.com. So I have a book called Met for This, the mindset and strategy to achieve your most impossible dreams. I have impossible in quotes because nothing is impossible. And the first chapter is available right now. You can download right now when you get on the wait list. Please get on the wait list. It's going to help me get a publisher to traditionally publish this book that I'm working on. I have an agent reading it right now. Oh my God. And so, yes, go download the first chapter. Let me know your thoughts. Again, that's on the website, hollywoodsuccesscoach.com.
That's awesome. Can people, I don't remember if you are still like offering programs or coaching or like any of that, if people really want to come work with you, is that still possible?
Yeah, I mean, always. I mean, you know, I basically always have my high-end coaching. The high-end coaching is really for people who are further along. It's like for a slightly higher level people, it's a much bigger investment. If you're interested in working with me in smaller ways, I have a very like low-end membership that's $67 a month where we do 2 group coaching calls a month. And then I actually am opening something next week. I'm doing a webinar next week all about getting to your next level. And that's going to be, it's not for newbies. It's not like if you've never worked in the industry before, this isn't for you. It's for slightly advanced, but it's all about getting to your next level. So that's all.
Also, she also has a really dope podcast, you guys. Her podcast is awesome. It's called Hollywood Success Coach Podcast, right?
Hollywood Success Podcast, yep.
That's awesome. Girl, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys, so as we have a minute 30 left, just give her all the hearts. Tell her how much you love this conversation. If you learned something, what was your biggest takeaway? We would love to know what those are. On a personal note that has nothing to do with you guys, I've been rolling around our show idea and kind of how to do that and stuff. And I've learned some things, and I think that there's some possibilities. So we'll chat this week.
Yes.
And maybe we can get friends in there.
I love it. And thank you to everyone who was on today and watched and chimed in. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
They are so awesome. So awesome. Cool. Okay. I'm going to X you out, and I will probably text you later today.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.